Alright guys, so a question that comes up every fall, people argue about whether you should mulch your leaves into the grass or not. There's a lot of people spreading misinformation out there, and we're going to talk about some of them. So the first thing is the pH level. There are people who are saying that the leaves will change the pH of your lawn if you mulch the leaves in. That's actually been found to not be true. There's a university study where they did, I think it was 6 inches of leaves every week, and while the leaves have a different pH than the soil, when it breaks down, it doesn't actually change the pH in the soil. So it's kind of one of those scientific, technically it's a different pH, but it doesn't actually affect the grass type things, and so people get confused by it. And then another thing is, people say, well, I've got too many leaves. I mean, these are the trees in my yard. I'm sure some of you have more, then there's more trees from the neighbors. We get tons of leaves. The key is you gotta go frequently, because if you wait until all the leaves drop and then try to mulch it, obviously it's gonna look bad. Now, even if you do wait and you mulch it and it looks bad, it's fine for the lawn, but if you wanna have a nice looking lawn and mulch the leaves in, you gotta still mow weekly. Even if the grass doesn't need to be cut, you're really mulching up the leaves. Now I'll do it because I go crazy. I'll come back here and, I mean, you can see there's not many leaves because I just did it the other day. But once it starts to look like, there's too many leaves, I'll go mulch them up. So this university study, that basically what they were trying to figure out is a couple things. They wanted to see if it affected the pH, if it hurt the grass or helped it, and if it could be done with an overwhelming amount of leaves, because their reason for the study was, you know, all these cities and towns, they have to deal with all these leaf piles being brought to the dump every year, and they're like, this is a lot of waste. But if you mulch it into the lawn, it doesn't pile up in some waste site, less room, less, you know, landfill space, all that stuff. So they went on the extreme, and they actually found you can do it, because the more you start mulching up, so if say you have that maximum crazy amount, you're up to your knees in leaves, if you're mulching that every week, the microbes in the soil will start to flourish and reproduce, and then there'll be more microbes, and so then they'll be able to process more and more, and so they can catch up and break it down. So that really isn't an issue either, as long as you're doing it regularly. Where some people get into issues is they will wait till after a rainstorm and then the leaves are all wet and matted down. You can still deal with that, it's just messy and takes more work. So if it's gonna rain and there's leaves on the ground, mow the day before. And then another thing they found is the soil and the green up in the spring is just so much better. The lawns that have more leaves being mulched in actually green up faster in the springtime, and they also found that it benefited the soil greatly. And so what will happen is your soil will retain water and nutrients better. The leaves themselves are providing nutrients to the soil and to the grass, and so it's just overwhelmingly a good thing. So the tip for you, you know, I personally use the Honda HRX lawnmower, and I feel like it mulches like a beast, and so I would recommend you just use that if you can. But if you can't, you're gonna want to go over it a bunch of times, and I'll show you my methodology. So what I like to do is, you know, if your mower doesn't have this, what you can do is first put it on shoot or bag mode, so all the leaves are coming out. That first mow, it's gonna chop them up a bunch. It might not, you know, chop it up perfectly, but it's gonna do a bunch of it, and it's gonna suck them all up out of the grass. Then after you do that, you go over to mulch, and you keep going over it until they should be about, you know, dime size, quarter to dime sized pieces. So this big, something like that. Maybe your thumbnail, that's a good size. So you just keep going over and over it. So it can be a lot of work, but if you consider how much work it is to rake them all, and then you gotta bag them all, you gotta transport them all, it's actually not as much work, and it's less load on you. And if you have the HRX, what you can do is a lot of people will just put it over to the second notch, so it's basically well, I can't open it right now. Basically, it's open a little bit, so the leaves get mulched more, but they still come out once they're small enough. And that's another way you can do it, or you could just keep going over mulch mode. That's how I used to do it before I had this mower, and it works just fine. And so it's one of the best things you can do in the fall. I'll see if I got some footage. It's too early for me to really show you any good footage, but I'll see if I got any footage of previous years where I'm just ripping through leaves. And you know, the kids would make piles, and I'd come out after work and I'd go to mow, and you could blow the pile all around the yard, but I just went over the piles and it's no big deal. Just go over it a few times and then it's like confetti, and it's so great for the lawn. And then, you know, a day or two later it looks like there were never any leaves there. So that's my tip for you about leaves in the fall. It's no big deal. I would totally recommend you actually leave them there, mulch them in, and just have fun doing that. I feel like it's really fun driving over it. What you can also do is you can raise up the front of the deck, so it's kind of like this. Obviously not that much, but a little bit, and then you can get over the piles bigger that way, and just have fun with it. Improve your soil. The next year you'll be like, things are happening a little bit better, and it's all that organic matter in the soil is actually helping. So some people, now I'm not suggesting you do this, but some people will have landscapers who actually truck in leaves from their client yards, because if you live out in the middle of nowhere, you got no trees around, your soil is really poor, you want to get free organic materials, call up these landscape guys that are paying to dump it, and they'll dump it on your lawn, and then you can go to town. I feel that's a little extreme, but hey, if you want to do that, go for it. Sounds fun one time. I don't know how often I do that. So yeah, that's how I feel about mulching leaves, and have fun. Alright, I appreciate you guys watching my videos. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. It's what makes this really enjoyable and fun, making all these videos. And be sure to check out the ones below. Have a great day. Bye.